Yo guys, Trader Mayne here. So I want to make a quick video. We've had kind of our first significant potential change in the market in a while. So most of these, dumps have been, in my opinion, more kind of leverage flushes, OI flushes. They're instantly getting bought back up. Altcoins, everything, Dalai Lama. Whereas this is the first one where we've broken market structure on one of the higher time frames, depending on how today's candle closes. Are we going to get a daily market structure shift? That would require a close below there, but the 12-hour, has broken market structure. It doesn't mean I think that it's fucking over, but this is the first kind of dump where it seems a little different than some of the other ones. The spread between Coinbase and the perps exchanges has now flattened, but basically all day yesterday, and I made a tweet about this, like Coinbase was trading at a $100 discount. So I'm like, okay, inflows are probably low. They were. There's been spot selling. Like that's just what it is, right? The coin, it's a pretty good barometer for what's going on. It's not perfect looking at the spread, but all of these dumps that have instant V reversed and all of this kind of straight vertical price action has all been in conjunction with a Coinbase premium, not a perps premium. So this is flattened now. OI got wiped out pretty good. Funding got reset pretty good because things were getting a little hot. But I've been talking about this in videos, right? Like eventually you have to get a correction. Like I don't, as much as the ETFs are great and all, and we got this spot bid up forever mentality, it can't go up forever. And we can have days where inflows are less. Maybe there's outflows, right? And eventually, if we want price to continue higher, corrections and sideways price action are necessary for the trend to continue. And this was just getting kind of crazy, crazy steep. So I don't think a larger correction or even just like, some sideways here is a bad thing at all before price continues higher. I think it's totally reasonable. But you've got to be very careful, especially if you're new here, right? If you've been here a while, that this is part of the game. Go look at the previous bull runs. When we broke all-time high last cycle, right here, it took a while. We had a big correction here. We were chopping around this area, and then we continued, right? So it was steep. It went vertical, reset a bit, vertical again, pull back, consolidate, vertical again. So we definitely need that type of price action. And if you've been here before, this is nothing new, right? You're probably sitting in spot from much lower. You're taking profit on your leverage entries that aren't necessarily early. Like if you're playing with perps up here, you got to be in and out quick because just as fast as an altcoin and Bitcoin can go up 5-10% and altcoins go up 10-15%, one of these leverage wipes and it's down 15% immediately and you've round tripped all that profit. So and me personally, right, I give back a good chunk here, right? I've been crushing it, and I took a step back here, but again, like my P&L is like this, right? So we're just in one of these, and what you want to avoid is your P&L looking like this, and then you get cocky, and then you get one of these, and you wipe out all of this hard work that you did with one stupid decision, being overly aggressive. And so why you have to be careful right now is, first of all, this is the first kind of change in character I think we've seen from price in a while, in terms of just how this dump has reacted. Yeah, we've got Solana and AVAX that have, V reversed, made new highs. Sorry, one sec here. That have V reversed to new highs, right? But a lot of other coins have not. They're actually down quite a bit, twice as much as Bitcoin is. The meme coins not getting that instant crazy buyback that we're expecting. Again, the premium here is just kind of flattening out now. So there's been a change for sure. And so if you've been conditioned, and I kind of talked about this in my last stream, I was like, I would not be surprised at all if we take out these wicks here, and maybe even this one. I don't know, because we've basically been conditioned over the last 3 weeks. Every dip gets instantly bought back up. So what happens if they run it and then they don't instantly buy it back up, right? Everyone's been conditioned to buy every dip. They buy the dip, they get a bounce, and then they get nuked. And maybe they're buying this one and they get nuked one more time, right? So if you can't keep doing the same thing, right, that you were doing previously if the conditions have changed. Now, one of the trickiest things I think some of you newer participants are going to have right now is navigating social media, because we're in a bull market, right? So everyone looks like a genius if they're bullish, right? Obviously, you still want to ignore bears. Like, there have been some people who are calling for a correction. Good for you. You finally got one right. But most likely, a lot of these people have been bearish, have been calling for that correction for ages. And now that they get it, they're celebrating a 10% drop when we're up 50% in a month. You know what I mean? They're tripping over dollars to pick up pennies. However, you got to be careful with bulls too, because at the end of the day, there's going to be some people who are not very smart, who you think are smart because they're bullish in a bull run, right? And it's going to be hard to differentiate which is which, who actually knows what they're doing and who is just bullish in a bull run. The other thing that you don't know is you don't know anyone's financial situation. So you're going to see people tweeting out higher, up only, so much fucking higher, buy every dip, we're going way higher. You don't know if that person bought last week, yesterday, 6 months ago. But those are all very different situations, because anyone who, like me and a lot of the other people who got bullish early, my spot entries are so good. I don't care if we come back to 55K, into here again. I don't care, because I still think the bull run is not over and my entries are not going to be challenged. However, there can be someone who is as vocally bullish as an Ansem. I'm not saying he isn't, he was bullish early, but there could be someone who's as vocally bullish as him, but they bought a week ago, right? So on a dip like this, you see everyone screaming higher, higher, higher. You bought 2 days ago. All of a sudden, you're down 10, 15% on all your entries. Now, will you probably end up okay? Will we probably end up higher? Sure, there's a good chance, but are you going to sit in those positions? Are you in perps, right? Are you at risk of liquidation? Are you in spot? So you don't know anyone else's financial situation, when they got in, how much drawdown they're willing to set through. Do they have dry powder to buy the dip, right? Every time we get a correction, everyone who's telling you they're all in magically has money to buy the dip. You don't know anyone else's situation. So you have to take everything that you see online with a grain of salt. There's a lot of people sharing a lot of great information out there on how to manage these situations. But at the end of the day, you're the one making the decisions and pressing the buttons. So you've got to be very careful just blindly following people who are just saying up, up, and up. That's great if you are well positioned from lower. But corrections, right? What if we have a couple of a week downtrend here? Like we trade down to 64, which is another 5 to 10% down from here. And then we just consolidate. Like, are you going to survive that? Like, what if your entries are at 70? Are you going to hold? Are you in spot? Are you in perps, right? So these are the things that you need to think about. How are you managing your money? It's very easy to get caught up in the hype and everyone's just saying higher, because in reality, we probably are going to end up trading higher. Whether this is it, or maybe we have another leg down and then we end up trading higher, we probably will end up trading above 80, 90K. The question is, can you survive this? That becomes the key. And it's very hard sometimes to survive this if you don't have good entries. You went in too big where you cannot, the entries don't matter as much if your risk is managed, right? Like if you bought 70K, but it's spot and you didn't oversize and you still have some money to buy if it goes a little lower, it's not really a big deal if it goes down here, if it's going to end up like that. You know what I mean? However, if you oversized here and you went in with your full stack and leverage, all of a sudden this 10, 15% dip, 20, 30% dip, which is totally possible in this type of environment, becomes a lot harder to manage. And that's when you end up puking your entries and actually taking a step back and losing your coins, losing your gains. So just a word of caution, right? It's very fun and easy to get caught up in the fucking hype and the bullish momentum. The last thing you want to be doing, though, is actually giving up money. And the main way you're going to do that is probably by using leverage. Because even though you might have bought some spot here, the chances, in my opinion, that we trade higher than 70K before this is all said and done is pretty high. So if you're in spot Bitcoin from 70K, yeah, maybe you're underwater for a bit, but good chance you end up okay. If you bought on leverage here, all of a sudden you're looking at a huge negative P&L balance. Maybe you freak out, you're paying funding, whatever it is, you might end up closing, right? And then buying back higher or doing something stupid. So my primary piece of obviously not financial advice is you probably shouldn't be using leverage if you don't really know what you're doing and you're not super nimble in these types of moves, because the market will let you get away with it, right? And make you think you know what you're doing. Oh, bought the dip, rewarded. Bought the dip, rewarded. Bought the dip, rewarded, psych. And then all that money that you just made here, completely wiped. Okay? And that's a shitty feeling, right? And then you start doing other dumb shit. You start chasing, you start revenge trading, you start doing stupid stuff. So that's all I'm saying. Be careful. There's a potential change in the shifts, in the motions of the market here. I don't know. Maybe the dump is already over. But I do think that some caution here. The stock market looks a little bit dicey. Are we going to see? Is there still a correlation? Like, could the stocks dump and crypto still go up? Absolutely. But we're about to find out pretty soon because I'm pretty sure the stock market's going to dump. But the question is, are you positioned from low enough, or at least with your risk managed enough that if it doesn't just continue to go up from here, maybe it dumps a little more, maybe it goes sideways, are you going to survive? Because that's what it's about right now. It's not over, right? But sometimes you need to survive these periods where it's not just completely vertical and completely up only. And it's sometimes you get trapped because you're following people who are just saying it can only go up, it's never going down. But these people are in spot from 50% lower. So it's a lot easier to be a uber bullish cheerleader, right? When you're well positioned from way lower, and you might not be. So you have to keep that in mind. You don't know all these people who are uber bullish, uber bearish, telling you to buy every dip, blah, blah, blah. You don't know what they're in, where they're in from, how much money they have. You have none of that information. So trying to copy trade their strategy based on your environment and conditions of your portfolio, the situation you're in, which may be completely different, can be hard. It's very easy for me to be bullish for 100K Bitcoin when I bought it 25. So if it goes from 70 to 60, I don't really give a fuck because I still think it's going to 100. But if you bought at 70 and you think it's going to 100 and now it's at 60, that's a bit more of a sweat, right? So yeah, just a little bit of a rant, a little bit of word vomit. Hopefully there's something of value for you in there. Real quick, I mean, I still think we're fine. I do think that, again, we've run out all these lows now. Is that it? The premium's basically gone here. OI got pretty good wiped. My guess is probably something like this, I think, personally. And then up again. I would like to see this. Maybe that's good for altcoins or alt BTC pairs. Fine strength. Solana and AVAX versus BTC look really good, versus ETH look very good. I think ETH BTC actually looks okay as well. Like, I know it looks kind of shitty on that time frame. But I do think that this is trying to bottom, here. It's trying to find a bottom somewhere in here. And I'm hoping that this is a higher low that's going to form somewhere in here. And maybe it's just time for Bitcoin to cool out and some of that money to rotate into altcoins or into other places. But again, stay safe out there. Hopefully there's some value in this for you guys. Yeah, I don't think it's over by any means. Let's not get fucking uber crazy bearish, but you have to be, if you're in this and you think things are going to end up higher, right? Buying when the trend is like this, make sure you're not putting yourself in a position where if we get a correction for a few days, a few weeks, and who knows how deep, that you can actually survive it. Because nothing would suck more where if you bought Bitcoin here, it did this, you puked it only for it to end up, back higher a month later. So just be cautious with the stuff you're consuming online. It's very easy to get caught up in the euphoria and the hype, but you got to realize a lot of these people are either just parroting what they see online, and when a dump like this happens, they're getting absolutely fucking hosed, or there's a very good chance that that person is in from way lower. So a 5, 10, 15, 20% dip doesn't really matter when you're up 100, 200, 300% already. You know what I mean? So Anyways, hope that helps. Talk to you guys soon. Peace out.